Hello class, I'm Ryan Walsh, your instructor, and today on the first day of our learning portion of the class, after our introductions and our syllabus explanation, we will be covering Unit 1, Topic 1, Factoring, Polynomials, and Application. So, what are factoring and polynomials? What do those words mean, right? So, for some definitions for you, factoring is the method to find variables, what to multiply specifically, to get an expression, right? Bottom of the page, maybe flip around. So secondly, a polynomial is an expression of an expression of multiple variables. Put plainly, we factor polynomials, and polynomials are just two things with one thing with two or more factors in them, or variables in them. So an example of a polynomial would be something like our expression at the top of the page, x squared minus 7x plus 10. So we know what a polynomial is and what a factoring is. We can talk about how we do that and what that would look like on paper. So in previous classes, you've discussed how to factor binomials or polynomials with one factor, one variable. And that looks very simple, right? You have to find what two things multiply to get one thing and add up to get that same thing, right? So when we're talking about factoring polynomials or binomials specifically, the easiest way to do that is the FOIL method. So what is the FOIL method? Another definition for you. The FOIL method at the top of the paper is an acronym for factoring the front, the outer, the inner, and then the last, right? So front, outer, inner, last. And what does that mean when we're talking about factoring and polynomials? Well, when you have a polynomial, you know there's two factors, and so with something like, to break it down, 7. The number 7 has two factors, 1 and 7. They multiply up and they get 7, right? And so with a polynomial, you don't just have 1 and 7, you have coefficients like x or y. And so with our example, x squared minus 7x plus 10, we're going to have two factors. So how do we do that? Well, let's use the FOIL method. So we know that x squared minus 7x plus 10 has two factors. We have to figure out what those two things are. So let's go back to our roots, factoring polynomials and binomials in previous units outside of application. We know that we have to multiply two numbers up to get 10, but that when added together, get negative 7. So, what would those two numbers be? Well, let's look at the left side of our paper here. What are the two numbers that add up, or multiply up to get 10, then add up to get negative 7? So we have 1 and 10 that do not work, right? It ends up being 10, but it gets 11 when it's added together, and we need negative 7, right? So we have 2 and 5, which gets 7 when added up together, and that works. And then we have negative 1 and negative 10, that gets negative 11, which obviously isn't the right answer either. And then we have negative 1 and negative 2 and negative 5, which ends up getting negative 7. So we know that's correct, but now we have to put it back into the parentheses, and that gets, well, you can have two different types. You can have x minus 2 and x minus 7. We're going to put them in the blanks here, right? So we plug these two numbers in right here. So we have x minus 2, x minus 7, or x minus 7, or x minus 2, x minus 5. So you either have x minus 2 here, or x minus 5 here, or vice versa, x minus 5, x minus 2. And the way we can check our answer is by using the FOIL method after the fact and multiplying them back together, right? So you have x minus 2, x minus 5. We're going to do the inner, the front. So front, the inner, and that's going to get us x squared. And then we're going to do the inner again. So we're going to do x times x. It's going to be x squared. And we're going to do x minus x times x times negative 7. Sorry, I'm somewhat all over my words here. So x minus x times x, and then x times negative 7. So it's going to be, check our work here. Sorry, I'm looking at a flipped thing on the recording. We have x squared, and then negative 7x, we have down at the bottom, or negative 5x, we're down at the bottom. And then we're going to do the inner number. So it's going to be negative 5 times x, or sorry, negative, and so it's going to be negative 2 here, and then it's going to be negative 5 times negative 2, and they get positive 10. So when we add all those things up, sorry, I was mixing up my words because I'm looking at a flipped screen, but you end up having x squared minus 5x minus 2x plus 10. And when you add those all up together, you combine like factors, you have x squared minus 7x plus 10. So we end up with the same problem at the top of our paper, and that's how you use the FOIL method. So in future, things to remember, the FOIL method stands for front, outer, inner, last. So when looking at our paper here, we have the front multiplied by the outer. Then we have the inner number, I put at the bottom here, the inner number multiplied against the inner, and then inner multiplied by the last, right? And so we use this to help organize our factoring of polynomials. I think we have that covered. I have all the definitions at the bottom of the paper for you. We'll go into other examples later.